Rachel Mitchell, the prosecutor hired by the Senate Judiciary Committee to question Brett Kavanaugh and his accuser, Christine Blasey Ford, last week, has produced a report. Her findings are fascinating and speak to Dr. Ford's credibility. Her overall appraisal? Mitchell finds the assault allegations against Kavanaugh to be weak. And in the legal context, here is her bottom line. She writes, a he said, she said case is incredibly difficult to prove. But this case is even weaker than that. Dr. Ford identified other witnesses to the event, and those witnesses either refuted her allegations or failed to corroborate them. For the reasons discussed below, I do not think that a reasonable prosecutor would bring this case based on the evidence before the committee. Nor do I believe that the evidence is sufficient to satisfy the preponderance of evidence standard. It's a lower standard. Mitchell then offers a 9-point critique of Ford's account based on the evidence at hand. She writes, Dr. Ford has not offered a consistent account of when the alleged assault happened. In her July 6th text to the Washington Post, Ford said it occurred in the mid-1980s, and then she changed her story in a letter to Dianne Feinstein, where she claims it happened in the early 80s. But in her polygraph statement in August, Ford said the assault happened one high school summer in the 80s. Changes there. She explicitly crossed out the word early. Ms. Mitchell continues, saying Dr. Ford has struggled to identify Judge Kavanaugh as the assailant by name. Dr. Ford has no memory of key details of the night in question, details that could corroborate her account.
In your letter, you said that they went down the stairs and they were talking with other people in the house.
Correct.
Were you able to hear that conversation?
I was not able to hear that conversation.
How do you know there was a conversation?
I'm just assuming since it was a social gathering, people were talking. I don't know.
You said that you do not remember how you got home. Is that correct?
I do not remember.
Okay.
Other than I did not drive home.
Okay. Has anyone come forward to say to you, hey, remember, I was the one that drove you home?
No.
Ford can't recall who invited her to the party, how she got to the party, the location of the party, where the alleged abuse occurred. Well, doesn't know where it was, nor how she got home, or even how she arranged a ride there. All of this leads Mitchell to her next point. Dr. Ford's account of the alleged assault has not been corroborated by anyone she identified as having attended, including her lifelong boyfriend. Judge Kavanaugh, Mark Judge, Patrick Smith, all deny any such party ever occurred. Ford's friend Leland Kaiser goes further, saying in a sworn statement that she had no recollection of being at a party with Kavanaugh and never knew him. Now, recall that when Dr. Ford was questioned about her really good friend's testimony, she kind of threw her under the bus.
Do you have any particular motives to ascribe to Leland?
I guess we could take those one at a time. Leland has significant health challenges, and I'm happy that she's focusing on herself and getting the health treatment that she needs, and she let me know that she needed her lawyer to take care of this for her.
She's got no problem.
So, guys, we have inconsistencies, we have discrepancies and inconsistencies and shades of changing the story. It goes on and on and on. Now, if the media cares to examine Kavanaugh's credibility on questions of whether he drank too much, whether he blacked out, fine, have at it, okay? Do it. But you gotta hit these other issues as well. To me, it's just fair. And that's a question of media credibility, reporters' credibility. It can't be off limits. If you're gonna have an unsubstantiated, uncorroborated allegation after the process of confirmation has already concluded, and you're going to go before the committee and you're going to say all this stuff, and then the media is not going to question you? I just find that to be absurd. By the way, Rachel Mitchell goes on to suggest that in her professional opinion, Ford, as I said, has not offered a consistent account of the alleged assault. And so this just keeps on shifting and shifting. The therapist's notes indicated that 4 boys were in the bedroom when the assault occurred. Then Ford told the Washington Post that 4 boys were at the party, but only 2 were in the bedroom during the assault. In her testimony, she said 4 boys and her friend Leland were present at the party, but she couldn't recall the name of the 4th boy. No one claiming to be the 4th boy has yet to come forward. Now, perhaps the most damning of Mitchell's critiques was this one. Dr. Ford has struggled to recall important recent events relating to the allegations, and her testimony regarding recent events raises further questions about her memory.
Did you show a full or partial set of those marriage therapy records to the Washington Post?
I don't remember. I remember summarizing for her what they said. So I'm not quite sure if I actually gave her the record.
Okay. Forget her recall about an assault 36 years ago. Ford couldn't recall events from just a few weeks earlier. During her testimony, Ford couldn't remember if she gave the Washington Post a complete or partial list of her therapist notes. It's a pretty big deal. Or whether she took her polygraph the day of her grandmother's funeral. That's a pretty big day to forget. Now, none of this is of interest, though, as I said earlier, to the media. They spent the weekend fact-checking and questioning the credibility of Judge Kavanaugh.
It has to matter, in my view, to these senators who are considering their vote, whether or not Judge Kavanaugh actually lied about his activities and his behavior over the course of his younger days.
There were other places where I thought it seemed like he was not forthcoming and was not telling the truth.
Questions into whether or not he lied in his testimony is relevant to his broader credibility.
It is no longer about the credibility of the accusers so much as it is about Kavanaugh's credibility.
In light of Mitchell's sober analysis, which she released without the input of Republicans or anyone else, shouldn't the media be concerned about the credibility of Dr. Ford's account? Credibility rests in part on recall, sometimes long ago, substantiating witnesses, corroborating witnesses, and evidence. But when all 3 are called into question by a seasoned sex abuse prosecutor like Mitchell, she's not a political actor. Isn't it time for the media to at least entertain the possibility that they may have gone too far in their coverage? And that's the angle.